Hello, fellow patriots. I'm Tim Andrews, and welcome to another episode of Red, Rights, and You. And we have a lot to discuss today, so let's dive right in. The election is upon us, and ballots will be counted soon. Hopefully, just once per vote this time. The more I see and hear, the more I am convinced that the progressive communist left needs to be stopped before we're all speaking Mandarin with Russian as a second language. And if you think that's conspiracy talk, well, just remember, conspiracies are just tomorrow's headlines, right? Now, who's really pulling the strings on the left? The Obamas? The Clintons? Bill Gates? Fauci? We know it's not Biden or Harris. Are the Chinese themselves running this entire shady deep state government? I mean, is this a political thriller or a spy novel? Either way, someone's got to stop them from turning this country into a communist republic, or at least charge them rent for all that farmland China's buying. I know what you're thinking. Another extreme right-wing conspiracy theory, right? Well, maybe, but consider this. Why hasn't China collected on the huge debt owed them by the United States? Why haven't they attacked us, our allies, or even Taiwan in this time of disorganization, vulnerability, and weakness? Why are they being allowed to transact those huge land deals and place their businesses here in the United States? You can argue that big money tariffs put in place by the Trump administration still exist, but who knows what kind of backdoor deals are being made there? Evidence is piling up showing that Hunter Biden and the big guy have taken huge payouts from the Chinese government. Kamala has far left viewpoints and a Marxist pedigree, while her running mate, Tampon Tim Walz, has been hosted and wined and dined by the Chinese government for years. And how was COVID-19 tied into all of this? Masks, lockdowns, social distancing. It was like a bad sci-fi movie directed by Fauci and co-produced by Biden. The Biden administration took this deadly pandemic, weaponized it, and conducted a government obedience test originated in a Wuhan lab with ties to Bill Gates. Unfortunately, most of America passed with flying colors. Then acceptance of government control was confirmed. And before you give me any of this, come on, Tim. The pandemic killed millions all over the world, not just the United States. Sadly, you would have to convince me that with government, lives matter more than agenda when it comes to the grisly dealings of politics. Governments are ruthless and will stop at nothing to achieve a means to an end. All you have to do is look throughout history at thousands of innocent servicemen secretly experimented on and placed so close to ground zero during nuclear tests after World War II that they could see the bones in their hands while covering their eyes to protect themselves from the flash. These men all suffered horribly for the remainder of their lives before dying from the effects of cancer and complications. And during the 2000s and 2010s, entire villages in Africa were decimated after being infected with man-made viruses allegedly brought about by our friends at the Bill and Melinda Gates Foundation under the guise of HPV and polio vaccine trials. Coincidence? So how did COVID-19 come into play as an experiment regarding government control? While Fauci ordered closings under President Trump's watch, mandates started and intensified under President Biden. Vaccines were required for federal workers, healthcare professionals, teachers and staff, and contractors. They were also strongly encouraged for any business with over 100 employees. Now, while there is no disputing that COVID was present, real, extremely dangerous, and deadly. The numbers of hospitalizations and deaths were being severely inflated and used as scare tactics so people would come and get vaccinated. Incentives and prizes were even being offered if you would take one for the team and allow yourself to be a guinea pig for this unproven jab. After the fact, nearly all of these rules and requirements were later dismissed as misinformation, government overreach, unnecessary, or they had false claims associated with them. But in the end, it really doesn't matter. The progressive communist left won. Mission accomplished. Government control was established. And to this day, the liberal left act as a group of mindless, unquestioning sheep doing exactly as they are told by their political party and mainstream media masters. I mean, who needs legitimate fact checkers when you have politicians and mainstream media feeding you the facts? And how was the transformation from the time-tested and once respected Democratic Party to the evil progressive communists who are now Democrats in name only today completed? Well, they already had their obedient base. Next, they simply catered to the snowflakes and Karens who really don't care about the politics part. They simply want to follow a leader who won't hurt people's feelings, is nice, and says all the right things. It really doesn't even matter who in particular that leader is. Their party just booted a dementia-ridden sitting president who needed a GPS and a guide dog just to find the Oval Office. Just weeks earlier, his soon-to-be replacement lied through her teeth, vouching for him, saying that he was as sharp as a tack. And speaking of that replacement, her biggest claim to fame was her moniker as the most unpopular VP ever. She was astoundingly promoted and anointed as heir to the throne without earning a single vote. Presidential candidates, though, in their system are simply clowns in a political circus, folks, with the deep state as the ringmasters. They adeptly mix their communist motives with progressivism by targeting the 7% LGBTQ community and then promote DEI to hire twice as many to make up 14% of their administration. Gather them all together, sprinkle in those who've been picked on or bullied, and then you rally those troops in a common cause, their hatred for all things Donald Trump, and you have the perfect storm. This movement is based on deception and ulterior motives, posing as an accepting, feelings first, joy, hope, and good vibes love fest who is going to save the world from the evil, horrible, despicable Donald Trump, who has no business being president of the United States, no matter how great of a job he did the first time. Now, regardless of my opinion, and conspiracy theory or not, the horror show unfolding in front of our own eyes is frightening in itself. The prospect of 4 more years of this nightmare with government control, the collapse of our country's economy, and loss of our freedoms on the line is scary and sad, to say the least. Should they somehow take office and implement their flawed plans, an economic crash is inevitable. We already know how their disciples will react. But how far are you willing to go when their government controls very limited food sources and determines your very survival based on your compliance? Only you can answer that question. Thank you so much for joining me for another episode of Red, Rights, and You. Until next time, stay the course, stay strong, and stay patriotic. God bless you all, and God bless America.